The influx of tourists to Aspen was a constant river of faces, flowing in and out of the Grand Mountain Resort. The concierge watched them come and go, a transient blur of fleeting impressions that piled up in his memory only to be swept away by the next day's tide. Only the truly remarkable, the ones who left a jolt or a shock, ever lingered. The two men who had arrived 3 nights ago were such an impression. Both were male. One possessed a clean-cut, refined handsomeness, a perpetual hint of a smile playing on his lips. The other kept himself obscured beneath a baseball cap and dark sunglasses, but the sharp, symmetrical lines of his exposed jaw promised something extraordinary. During a brief, heated argument with his companion, he had ripped the sunglasses off, and the face revealed beneath, a visage of incandescent, almost lethal beauty, had momentarily stunned every man and woman in the lobby into a stupor. For the next few days, the hotel staff operated with a frenzied energy, inventing an endless parade of excuses to knock on their suite door. From fresh towels to room service inquiries, every possible reason was exhausted. Guests in neighboring rooms witnessed the bizarre spectacle of that particular suite having its linens changed and room cleaned on an almost hourly basis. It happened to be a period of heavy mountain storms, trapping most guests indoors, a perfect setup for private recreation. It didn't take a genius to imagine what the two men in that room might be doing to require such constant housekeeping. The two men, trapped by the rain, were far from pleased. One had hoped for a private world to cultivate their connection, while the other was merely looking for the right moment to turn the tables. The staff's hourly intrusions were derailing both their plans. When a housekeeper entered yet again, he was met with a chilling scene. One man sat in a chair, hands folded, smiling with an unnerving gentleness. The other lounged on the sofa, a wicked grin spreading across his face, an aura of pure malice radiating through the room. A new phenomenon began. Staff would enter the suite with cheerful determination and emerge pale, clutching their chests, staggering out as if they had survived a near-death experience. Soon, no one dared to approach their door again. Ethan stood and looked out the window at the sky, which had finally cleared. He suggested they go out for a walk. Caleb rose from the sofa with a fluid motion and agreed. They found themselves on the historic main street of the old town. The rain had washed the air clean, and they walked slowly over the red brick pavers. Caleb consulted a tourist map, mentioning that the town was famous for its network of small, decorative bridges and that they should go see them. Ethan had no objections, walking beside him with a surprising air of compliance. Ethan was very pleased with this and casually took his hand. He looked at the charming, rustic architecture of the surrounding buildings and proposed they check out of the hotel and find a room in one of the local lodges instead. Caleb's eyes scanned a nearby boutique hotel. He remarked that it looked nice. That settled it, then. Ethan added that they could explore the town's nightlife later. The sun was gentle, not yet at its full strength, so Caleb had left his sunglasses behind. Hearing Ethan's words, he couldn't help but raise an eyebrow, his exquisite features flashing with a dangerous allure. A suggestive smile touched his lips as he asked if the evening wasn't better suited for more meaningful activities. Ethan let out a soft laugh, stating that he wouldn't object if that was what Caleb wanted. Caleb's eyebrow arched higher. He pressed, asking if Ethan, the great scion, was truly willing. They both knew they weren't talking about the same kind of willing. Ethan pulled him forward, leading him past a street lined with bars and pubs. It was too early for the evening crowd, and the area was quiet. As they passed the nearest establishment, a tourist pushed the door open. For a brief moment, the low, melancholic voice of a male singer drifted out, a song in a language neither of them recognized. The sound, ethereal in the crisp air, hung there for only a few seconds before the door swung shut, muffling it once more. Ethan listened intently to the fleeting lyric, an involuntary urge making him turn to look at Caleb. Caleb had been studying the architecture, but he felt Ethan's gaze and turned to meet it, quirking an eyebrow in a silent question. It was nothing. Ethan just smiled at him, pulling him along to look at the view from a nearby bridge. They wandered for a while longer before heading back to the hotel to check out. The sun began its descent, casting a fiery halo over the old town. Caleb stood on the balcony of their new lodge, gazing at the famous Snowmass Mountain in the distance. Inside, Ethan sat in a wicker chair, a glass of amber liquid in his hand, watching Caleb's back with a contented smile. He seemed to be savoring the moment of tranquility. Aspen offered countless distractions. They moved at a leisurely pace, lingering wherever they pleased, never leaving a place until they had their fill. Time slipped by. One of them maintained a flawless defense, while the other waited patiently for the perfect moment to exact his revenge. And so, despite the tension, they coexisted in a strange peace. While Ethan's grandfather, a powerful senator, had his people scouring the globe for a man fitting Ethan's description. The two of them had been enjoying themselves right under his nose for nearly a month. One evening, after returning to the lodge, they showered to unwind. Ethan emerged from the bathroom in a silk robe and saw the silhouette on the balcony. His cool, discerning eyes darkened a fraction. Tonight was the full moon. The last vestiges of sunset had vanished, and the town below was now alight with a vibrant glow. Ethan walked up behind Caleb and wrapped his arms around him. He felt Caleb's body tense instantly and whispered for him to come inside. Without waiting for a response, he took Caleb's hand and led him back into the room, guiding him onto a chaise lounge. He asked if he wanted a drink. An icy, sharp aura emanated from Caleb. His normally dark eyes were now a bottomless black. He looked up at Ethan, a chilling smile playing on his lips, the air thick with murderous intent. "Ethan," he purred, "are you really not afraid I'll lose control and tear you apart?" "My luck has always been good," Ethan replied with a calm smile, taking a seat opposite him. He poured a measure of whiskey into a glass and offered it. "Care for some?" Caleb didn't answer but took the glass. He took a small sip, the warmth of the spirit flowing through him, slightly easing the tension in his coiled muscles. But as time ticked by, the coldness radiating from him only intensified. He raised an eyebrow. "At this rate," he mused, "if I decided to take you, do you think I might just kill you in the process?" "Please don't," Ethan laughed. "If you did that, you'd surely get blood everywhere. I have a thing about cleanliness." "No, I wouldn't." Caleb looked at him, his gaze a mixture of seduction and bloody danger. "I'd be delicate." "I don't believe you." Ethan shook his head, smiling. "You probably wouldn't even use lube. You have to trust me." They fell into a tense back and forth. The conversation served as a minor distraction for Caleb, and a flicker of amusement could occasionally be seen in his obsidian eyes. Time crept toward midnight, 0 hour. The violent impulse inside him peaked in an instant. Caleb's body went rigid. His hand, holding the thick wooden tumbler, tightened. With a sharp crack, the cup shattered in his grip. He didn't release the broken pieces, instead clenching his fist tighter, the shards digging into his palm, drawing thin red lines and hints of blood. He bowed his head, a storm of destructive rage brewing beneath the dead silence. He was a cornered animal. Ethan couldn't see his expression, only the stark pallor of his face through his dark hair. He reached out, intending to lift Caleb's head, but the moment his fingers made contact, Caleb's hand shot out and seized his wrist. A searing pain shot through Ethan's arm, and he heard the distinct, sickening sound of bones snapping. "Ethan." After a long silence, Caleb finally spoke. His voice was low and cold, and though the tone was steady, a slight tremor at the end betrayed the hysteria simmering just beneath the surface. He took a few ragged breaths. "Get out," he rasped. But Ethan reached over with his other hand, gently taking hold of the wrist that was still crushing the broken wood. "Let go," he said softly. Caleb didn't respond, the blood roaring in his ears making it hard to bear. His grip on Ethan's broken wrist unconsciously tightened again. A flicker of pain crossed Ethan's face before he smoothed his expression back to one of calm resolve. "Let go, Cal," he repeated, his voice gentle. Caleb froze. This man always called him by his full name or simply you. He had never, not once, called him Cal. Even with the storm raging inside him, the unfamiliar intimacy of the name made him pause. Ethan watched him quietly. "Cal, let go," he urged again. Caleb took several more deep, shuddering breaths. Pride forced him to uncurl his fingers one by one, the muscles so tight they threatened to cramp and twist. Ethan withdrew his hand, not even glancing at his own mangled wrist. He continued, his voice still soft. "This hand too, Cal. Let it go." Caleb slowly relaxed his other hand. The wooden fragments clattered onto the floor. Ethan saw beads of cold sweat tracing paths down Caleb's pale cheeks. He moved closer and pulled him into an embrace, gently patting his back. "It's okay, Cal. It's over now." Midnight had passed. The smooth, jade-like voice was right beside his ear, cool and pleasant. Caleb closed his eyes and just listened, feeling the tempest in his blood gradually subside. He slowly relaxed his body. Ethan held him gently, and once he felt Caleb's breathing become steady and deep, he carefully laid him back on the chaise lounge. In the faint moonlight filtering through the window, he studied him. Caleb's eyes were closed, his hair plastered to his forehead with sweat. His face so pale it was completely devoid of color. It was impossible to tell if he was asleep or had simply passed out from the strain. With his injured wrist, Ethan couldn't carry him to the bed. Instead, he fetched a blanket and carefully draped it over him. Then he stepped out onto the balcony and made a call. The phone was answered after 2 rings. A weary voice came through. "You're lucky I was forced to pull an all-nighter. Otherwise, do you have any idea what time it is, Mr. Price?" Ethan gazed at the serene moonlight, his cool eyes growing even colder. He spoke softly. "He's showing signs of losing control." There was a moment of silence on the other end, followed by the rustling of papers and the sound of blinds being drawn. "I see," the voice, belonging to a man named Owen, said. "Tonight's the full moon. How is he now?" Ethan glanced back into the room at Caleb's ashen face. "I don't know if he's asleep or unconscious." Owen was quiet for a moment before his tone became serious. "I've reviewed his file and run the blood analysis. The compounds in his system are incredibly complex. It'll take me some time to break them down completely. However, I can formulate a sedative that will work on him. Putting him to sleep is better than letting him go berserk. Don't you think?" Ethan considered it. "All right. Have it ready before the next full moon. I'll give you my location then, and you can have it sent." "Fine," Owen agreed. Then his voice shifted to a teasing tone. "So, where are you 2 lovebirds now? I heard from Alex that the senator put out the word to have you tied up the second you're found." A wry smile touched Ethan's lips. "My grandfather always was a man of his word." Owen chuckled gleefully. "Well, good luck to you then." He hung up. Ethan looked down at his own purpling wrist, then walked slowly back inside and sat down in the chair, taking one of Caleb's hands in his. Just as he had on the last full moon, he sat there, a silent guardian in the night. Morning sunlight streamed into the room. Caleb's long lashes fluttered, and he slowly opened his eyes. The deep black of his irises was no different from any other day. Ethan looked up and met his gaze with a warm smile. Morning. The brightness made Caleb squint, and he closed his eyes again, turning his head away. Morning, he mumbled, his voice lazy and magnetic, devoid of the previous night's sharp edge. Ethan felt the knot of anxiety he'd held all night finally loosen. This was still the Caleb he knew. He hadn't lost him to the madness. Leaning over, Ethan pressed his lips to Caleb's. As he had waited all night, his heart finally settled. Caleb was not yet fully awake, and he vaguely registered a warm presence in his mouth. He instinctively tried to push it away with his tongue, but it took the opportunity to entwine with his own. The pressure was gentle, not unpleasant, and he gradually relaxed the furrow in his brow, letting it happen. Images of their time together floated through his mind. Ethan deepened the kiss, his free hand finding Caleb's and lacing their fingers together. In the back of his mind, he could almost hear that ethereal voice from the bar, the low, male tones singing that single, haunting line, holding hands no matter when, we will weep for being together. Caleb tilted his head back, passively accepting the kiss. Ethan's hand slid from his and moved to his waist, pulling their bodies closer. The gentle kiss grew more urgent. A soft sound escaped Caleb's throat as his consciousness sharpened, and he turned his head sharply to break away. Ethan released him with a smile, his breathing slightly labored. "Fully awake now?" he asked softly. Caleb pulled Ethan's hand from his waist and sat up, looking at him with a raised eyebrow. "Feeling frisky this morning?" The morning light slanted in from the balcony, accentuating the fine lines of his face. Ethan studied him for a moment before smiling. "I was just trying to wake you up." What a peculiar way to do it. The memories of the previous night returned. Caleb tilted his head, his gaze falling on Ethan's wrist. The once pale skin was now a horrifying shade of blue-black, swollen and bruised. He reached out and lifted Ethan's arm to inspect it, his face showing not a hint of remorse. "This looks like you broke a bone." "I did," Ethan confirmed, looking down at his wrist. "Which means you're coming with me to the hospital." Caleb got up to wash, calling over his shoulder, "I'm not paying your medical bills." "I never expected you to." Ethan followed him into the bathroom. After they had cleaned up and had a simple breakfast, they headed to the local clinic. An elderly orthopedic doctor examined the injury, pushing his glasses up his nose. "Son, this kind of fracture is caused by immense compression, a grip strength far beyond what a normal human can exert. May I ask how this happened?" Ethan watched the old doctor skillfully wrap his wrist in a bandage. "It's a bit of a wild story," he said with a charming smile. "I'm not sure you'll believe it." The doctor's interest was piqued. "Try me." "It's rather embarrassing," Ethan began. "Yesterday, while hiking, I wandered off the marked trail and into the deep woods. I ran into a creature. This is where it grabbed me." The doctor's eyes widened. He sat up straight. "You don't mean—" "I do," Ethan nodded, his handsome face the very picture of earnest innocence. "I believe it was what the legends call a Sasquatch." Caleb, who had just returned from picking up a prescription, walked in just in time to hear this. His dangerous eyes narrowed. "What Sasquatch?" "That's a secret," Ethan said as he stood up, smiling at the doctor. "We'll be on our way now." The doctor nodded. "Take care of that injury, and remember to change the dressing." Ethan acknowledged him and pulled Caleb out of the clinic. After they had walked a few steps, he finally chuckled. What's with that look? What do you think? Caleb raised an eyebrow. Don't you think you owe me an explanation? There's nothing to explain, Ethan said, hailing a cab. He opened the door for Caleb, then slid in after him. I think it's time we moved on from this town. Oh? And why is that? Caleb tossed the bag of medication at him and asked in a lazy drawl. The reason, Ethan said, is that I saw a distinct gleam in that doctor's eyes. Caleb just scoffed and turned to look out the window. In the days that followed, a story spread like wildfire across the country, headlines blaring. Sasquatch sighting in Colorado wilderness. Major newspapers and media outlets featured an X-ray of a fractured wrist, accompanied by the old doctor's detailed description and analysis from renowned experts. They all confirmed that the injury could not have been inflicted by a human. The media went into a frenzy. The Sasquatch legend exploded, and while search parties were organized to scour the forests, a nationwide hunt began for the sole eyewitness, a man named Ethan Price. The senator, already searching for his grandson, heard the news and dispatched a man with a photograph to the old doctor. The doctor confirmed it was him, coupled with reliable intelligence that his precious grandson had been cavorting around Aspen with another man for a month. The senator erupted. He mobilized his resources, effectively locking down the entire state of Colorado. For weeks, his men searched relentlessly, but to no avail. The media, oblivious to the true reason for the intense search, assumed it was official government interest in the Sasquatch, fanning the flames of the story even higher. Meanwhile, the masterminds behind the chaos were in a quiet lakeside town in Michigan, leisurely sipping bourbon in a historic tavern. They listened to the animated discussions around them about the nation's hottest topic, the Sasquatch, while Ethan maintained an air of refined calm, as if the matter had nothing to do with him. They had traveled from Colorado, eventually settling in this town. It was a place of stark contrasts. Their rental was on a quiet, cobblestone street with elegant, old-world houses, which backed onto a bustling downtown full of traffic and neon lights. Stepping from one to the other felt like traveling through time. They rented a small cottage and hired a local woman to cook and clean for them daily. They stayed for over 2 weeks. Combined with the time spent traveling from Colorado, it was now, once again, a month later. Ethan's fingers slowly traced the rim of his glass. His eyes fell on a small vial on the table beside him. It was the medication Owen had sent. He was sitting by a window and saw a familiar figure pass by on the street below. He pocketed the vial and smiled toward the staircase. Moments later, a stunningly handsome young man ascended the stairs. Caleb walked over with a lazy grace and sat opposite him, tossing a newspaper onto the table. There. Your grandfather finally called off his dogs. That's good news. Caleb ordered a drink, his mesmerizing eyes studying Ethan for a long moment before he pointed at the paper. You did that on purpose. I did, Ethan admitted, setting down his glass with a smile. I had to give my grandfather a way to vent his anger. Otherwise, when I go back, he really will have me tied up. Caleb arched an eyebrow. Don't you think this will just make him even angrier? No, Ethan said. My grandfather has always admired cleverness. I needed him to know I was right here under his nose, and he still couldn't find me. That should have worn down most of his frustration. If I had completely vanished and then reappeared, he would have been truly furious, thinking I was afraid of him, and would have come down on me even harder. Caleb pouted. Your family is so complicated. Complicated, yes, but it has its amusements, Ethan smiled. When we go back, I'll take you to meet him. He's actually a good man. Caleb, who had been toying with his glass, looked up, a playful glint in his eyes. He leaned forward, looking straight at Ethan. Is this the legendary meet the parents moment? As he leaned forward, the loose collar of his shirt gaped open, offering a clear view of his collarbones and chest. Ethan glanced down before meeting his eyes. Do you have a problem with that? I do, Caleb said, his gaze unwavering, the playful look intensifying. I don't recall ever agreeing to marry you. Ethan remained unfazed. Whether you agree or not, he said gently, has little bearing on us being together. The implication was clear. Even if you don't agree, we will be together. And the methods for ensuring that, well, we both know. You're quite the tyrant, Caleb said, standing up. I just came to tell you dinner's ready. Don't be late. I'm leaving. Ethan rose to walk with him. Where are you going? Caleb was already heading down the stairs. His voice floated back. A bar. Ethan paused, asking a question to which he already knew the answer. Purpose? As expected, Caleb's reply came from the street, light and airy. To hunt. Experience had proven that Ethan was far more insidious than Caleb. For the past month, Ethan's wrist had been injured, rendering one hand mostly useless. Caleb, naturally, wouldn't pass up such a golden opportunity. But Ethan didn't lose out. Every time Caleb was about to strike, Ethan would extend his bandaged hand as if to block, deliberately putting his injured wrist right in front of Caleb's face. While Caleb felt no guilt, he had, after all, caused the injury. He couldn't bring himself to injure it further. So every time he saw that wrist, he would hesitate. That momentary hesitation was all Ethan needed to evade him. It got to the point where every time Caleb saw Ethan's placid smile, he would curse himself internally, wondering why he hadn't just crushed his neck that night, just snapped it in his sleep and been done with him. Ethan, of course, knew exactly what Caleb was thinking. His smile never wavered, as elegant as ever. He had no intention of telling Caleb that his wrist had healed weeks ago. The flicker of concern in Caleb's eyes every time he saw the bandage brought him immense pleasure. And so it was that when two predators met, the one who was more cunning, more devious, would always prevail. Of course, some things could not be controlled by sheer will. A man's desires, for instance. They had been on the road for 2 months, but neither was willing to yield, so their physical needs remained unmet. Ethan had been wondering when Caleb would finally lose the last shred of his patience. After all, Caleb's personal life was far more chaotic than his own. It seemed that day had finally arrived. However, Ethan left the tavern, watching Caleb's retreating figure and then glancing up at the festive lanterns strung across the street. A pleased smile curved his lips. It seemed his dear companion, so focused on their feud, had forgotten something important. Tonight was the Harvest Moon Festival, the 15th day of the 8th lunar month. Full moon, my dear. I can only regretfully inform you that your hunt is destined to fail tonight. Sir, I don't know, but that man's smile is really, really creepy. A beautiful woman whispered to Caleb, inching closer to him in a corner of a dimly lit bar. Don't worry, he's always like that. You get used to it. Caleb flashed her a dazzling smile. The woman was instantly captivated, completely forgetting about the handsome man sitting across from them. Caleb seized the moment to glance at Ethan, raising an eyebrow. Is there anything else, Mr. Price? If not, you can leave. I won't be coming home tonight. Ethan responded with a calm no, a gentle smile on his face. I'm just here for a drink. I'll head back when the sun goes down. Caleb casually draped an arm around the woman, glancing at her watch before shooting another challenging look at Ethan. That should be just about now, shouldn't it? The subtext, hurry up and leave. Can't you see I'm busy? Ethan elegantly set down his glass, his smile unwavering. Yes, it is about that time. Caleb studied him for a moment, and seeing that he wasn't there to cause trouble, he turned his attention back to the woman, plotting when to lure her to a hotel. But as he was scheming, a familiar sensation surged through his body. A jolt of alarm hit him. "What's today's date?" he asked. The woman, startled, replied, "I don't know the exact date, but I know it's the Harvest Moon Festival." Caleb's eyes shot to Ethan, his beautiful features clouded with a dangerous, "You knew?" Ethan ignored his glare, calmly signaling the waiter for the check. Then he took Caleb's hand and pulled him to his feet. He smiled at the bewildered woman. "Apologies, we have something to attend to. Perhaps another time." The woman looked to Caleb for confirmation, and seeing no protest, she nodded in disappointment. With a triumphant smile, Ethan led him back toward their street. At the entrance, he bought a decorative paper lantern before pulling him into the festive throng. He gestured at the brightly lit street. "You should look. It's beautiful." Ethan was holding him with his supposedly injured hand, and Caleb didn't dare pull away too forcefully. He was in the middle of a fresh round of internal cursing when he heard the words and looked up. The eaves of the houses on both sides were adorned with strings of lanterns. Thin wires crisscrossed the street above, also hung with rows of lanterns, their warm, red glow stretching into the distance. The street was lined with vendors and bustling with people. "See? Isn't it beautiful?" Ethan, carrying the lantern, led him through the crowd. "Have you ever celebrated a festival like this?" "No," Caleb answered honestly, then added after a pause, "But I had mooncakes when I was a kid." Ethan turned to look at him. The warm light softened the sharp edges of Caleb's aura, replacing some of the wickedness with an air of opulence. Ethan watched him for a moment, then leaned in and brushed a light kiss against his lips before continuing forward. "All right then. Before midnight arrives, I'll show you how to celebrate the festival." They merged with the crowd, Ethan's grip on his hand tightening slightly. The moon was bright overhead, the lights were dazzling, and the love of his life was within reach. A gentle warmth spread through Ethan's cool eyes. To be here, in this moment, at the peak of one's life was truly a beautiful thing. The old street was alive with celebration, filled with laughing, jostling people. Every stall was doing brisk business. After strolling for a while, Ethan led him back toward their cottage. He stopped in front of a bakery selling mooncakes. "Want some?" he asked. Caleb had been swept along by the festive atmosphere. He had never experienced such warmth, such a feeling of collective joy. It was as if the vibrant scene around him could miraculously lift his own spirits. His mind drifted. This journey had brought him many strange new feelings. Since his rise to power, the people he encountered always looked at him with fear. But on this trip, bickering and traveling with this man, the gazes they received were mostly sincere and friendly, without dislike or dread. It was an odd sensation, something he had never imagined possible. Perhaps, as this man had once said, stripped of his fearsome reputation, even he, Caleb the demon, could one day be an ordinary person, a normal person. And now, on the night of the full moon, surrounded by so many people, the violent turmoil in his blood, strangely, did not intensify. Instead, the lively scene sparked a peculiar warmth deep inside him. The feeling was unfamiliar, but one thing was certain. He didn't hate it, but he didn't know if this was the life he wanted. After killing Blackwood, he still didn't know what to do next. Caleb sighed internally. Was he destined to remain entangled with this man? For how long? They both knew the truth. Unless one of them died or surrendered, this entanglement would last a lifetime. Ethan noticed him standing silently and leaned closer. What are you thinking about, so serious? Caleb returned to the present. He looked at the shop and raised an eyebrow. Mooncakes now? Ethan nodded with a smile. We're not sleeping tonight anyway. Eating mooncakes and watching the moon is a fine choice. Caleb shrugged, letting him be. They bought the mooncakes and returned to their cottage. They both showered and, dressed in comfortable robes, sat on the balcony drinking whiskey and eating the sweet pastries. Above them was a brilliant, full moon. Below, the bustling crowd. The night breeze was cool and refreshing, a perfect moment of peace. Caleb stared at the moon, his mesmerizing eyes fixed on it for a long while before he spoke. I just realized tonight that the full moon is actually quite beautiful. Ethan chuckled softly. That just means your perspective is changing. He noticed Caleb's glass was nearly empty and refilled it. Caleb took the glass, swirling the liquid inside. How long until midnight? Ethan checked his phone. A little over 2 hours. Oh? Caleb's handsome brow arched. So there's still enough time. Ethan looked at him. The silvery moonlight cast an almost innocent glow on Caleb's devilish face, giving him a unique charm. He saw the mischievous smile playing on Caleb's lips and sighed with mock exasperation. You're thinking about it again. You really don't give up, do you? That's right, Caleb said, setting his glass down. He leaned across the table and cupped Ethan's chin. Aren't you going to compensate me for one? You need to be clear about who really ruined your plans tonight. It wasn't me. It was that beautiful full moon you were just admiring, Ethan said, noting the increasing coldness emanating from Caleb as time passed. He added, besides, in your current state, you definitely get blood everywhere. I won't, Caleb promised. I'll use lube. Ethan raised an eyebrow, looking at him skeptically. Oh? Where's the lube? Caleb's eyes narrowed, a triumphant smile spreading across his face. I knew you'd ask. I bought some earlier. I can show you if you don't believe me. He went inside and quickly returned, dangling an unopened box in front of Ethan. Well, he smirked. It's too late for you to refuse now. Even waving that injured arm of yours won't work anymore. In fact, I'd advise against it. The more I care, the more agitated I get, and you'll be the one to suffer. So, Mr. Price, tonight you'll submit whether you want to or not. So you do care? Ethan said, still seated calmly, a comfortable smile on his face. He swirled the whiskey in his glass. But you still have 2 hours. You don't mind finishing this drink with me first, do you? Caleb looked down at him, saw that he was just admiring the moon, his glass untouched. He reached over, snatched the glass from Ethan's hand, and downed the contents in one gulp. He then picked up his own glass and did the same, licking his lips afterward. There. Now we can. If you dare make another excuse, I'll just use force. Such a waste of good whiskey. Ethan sighed regretfully, then smiled as he rose. All right, let's go to bed. You wanted to do this, didn't you? Caleb's eyes narrowed with suspicion at his sudden compliance, but he didn't dwell on it. Ethan had already taken his hand, leading him proactively inside. 1, 2, 3. Ethan counted softly as they walked. Caleb listened for a moment before asking, "What are you counting?" Ethan's reply was matter-of-fact. "Numbers." "No kidding," Caleb said, pulling on Ethan's arm to make him face him, a dangerous glint in his eyes. "I'm asking why you're counting." "No reason." Ethan's smile was warm and gentle. "I just wanted to count to a specific number." Caleb arched an eyebrow. "What specific number?" "This one." Ethan leaned in close to his ear, his warm breath caressing Caleb's skin. Before Caleb could pull away, he heard the smooth, jade-like voice whisper, 30. What thir? Before he could finish the word, a wave of dizziness washed over him. He whipped his head around, staring at Ethan in disbelief. You drugged me? I did, Ethan admitted freely. When you went inside to get the lube. And just in case, I put it in both glasses. My luck really is good, though. You drank them both. You... Caleb gritted his teeth in fury, raising a hand to strike. But Ethan effortlessly caught his wrist midair, bringing it to his lips for a soft kiss. Your strength seems to have faded a bit. Caleb was stunned. He was dizzy, but he still had considerable strength left. Strength that should have been impossible for Ethan to block so easily with his injured hand. But the facts were undeniable. The only explanation his hazy mind could conjure up made him glare at Ethan again. Your hand. It was healed all along? Yes. I regret to inform you, it's been fine for a while. Ethan caught his slowly collapsing body, lifting him into his arms and carrying him to the bed. He looked down at Caleb's robe, loosened by the struggle, and leaned down to nip gently at his collarbone. He then walked back, picked up the dropped lubricant from the rug, and slowly returned to the bedside, dangling the now opened package in front of Caleb's eyes. It was so thoughtful of you to buy this, he said with a smile. Isn't there a saying for this? Hoist with his own petard? Bastard, Caleb swore, but the dizziness made his voice weak. He felt limp, powerless. Even the violent surge in his blood couldn't restore his strength. A bitter thought crossed his mind. What a perfect opportunity to be slaughtered. Ethan chuckled softly. Well, I can only regretfully inform you that you're about to witness an even more bastardly side of me. He looked into Caleb's increasingly hazy eyes, leaned down to kiss his forehead, and his long fingers slowly slid to his waist, untying the sash. He pushed aside the robe and underwear, then stood to remove his own clothes. He leaned over him again, his tongue parting Caleb's lips and delving inside, kissing him thoroughly, exploring every inch. The mingled scents of whiskey and mooncake created a sweet, intoxicating taste. His hands began to roam and knead Caleb's body. His lips moved from Caleb's mouth down to his ear. You knew I love you, and you still went hunting in front of me, he whispered. You deserve to be taught a lesson. A soft moan escaped Caleb's throat. Ethan blew gently into his ear and chuckled. You're hard, he continued. Since you were so desperate to go hunting, I'll be happy to help you relieve some of that fire tonight. Don't thank me too much. Wet kisses traveled down his neck. Caleb's head was spinning. His body felt disconnected, as if separated from the world by a thick film. His senses dulled. Even so, he could feel his body growing hotter, his breathing more ragged. All the heat seemed to build to a single point, then erupted in a sudden rush. Another moan escaped him as his body tensed, then went limp. Moonlight streamed through the sheer curtains of the bed. Ethan looked down. Caleb was sunk deep into the soft mattress, his chest heaving, his dark eyes glazed with a misty, dazed light. A beautiful pink flush colored his skin, glowing faintly in the moonlight, looking incredibly tempting. This side of you is for my eyes only. Understand? Ethan leaned close to his ear, his cool voice now tinged with huskiness. He squeezed some lubricant onto his fingers and reached behind Caleb, slowly beginning his exploration with one finger. Caleb felt a cool sensation, then his legs were lifted. He vaguely knew what was coming but was powerless to stop it. The helplessness made him frown, and he silently cursed Ethan from head to toe. Ethan saw the frown and leaned down to kiss the space between his brows. So unhappy? He murmured, his voice husky. You're cursing me in your head, aren't you? Then, with a powerful thrust, he entered him completely. Caleb let out a sharp gasp and muttered, "Bastard." The overwhelming pleasure made Ethan's voice even rougher. "So tight." He looked down at Caleb's still furrowed brow, kissed him again, and coaxed, "Shoo, don't be upset. We have all night." With that, he began to move. Caleb felt waves of pleasure shoot up his spine to the top of his head. His breathing immediately became more chaotic. A chorus of soft chimes, broken moans, and ragged breaths filled the room. Outside, the sounds of the bustling street could still be heard. As midnight approached, someone set off fireworks. A loud bang echoed as they exploded in the sky, the brilliant afterglow bright enough to illuminate the room. At the peak of his climax, Ethan held him tightly, their lips meeting in a deep, lingering kiss. He suddenly felt that this harvest moon festival was happier than any he had ever known. Caleb regained a moment of clarity as midnight struck, as if the drug's effects were momentarily washed away. But in the end, he was unable to fight back. Under Ethan's relentless assault, he passed out. In his last moment of consciousness, he had one final thought. This was, without a doubt, the most unique and also the most terrible full moon he had ever experienced. And the source of it all was the man on top of him, the man named Ethan Price, a fateful, cursed connection from the day they met. The first rays of morning light slowly crept across the land. The lanterns on the old street had not yet been taken down, a remnant of the previous night's festivities. In the kitchen of a small cottage on a corner street, a woman in her 40s was cheerfully talking to a young man beside her. "See, I told you. You young people are all too pampered. But you can't go through life without one of you knowing how to cook. It's really quite easy to learn. Look, just like this is fine." She instructed the young man beside her as she worked. The young man listened patiently, occasionally nodding with a smile. "There you go. Don't forget to stir it in a little while," the woman said. "If he likes it sweet, you can add a bit of sugar to the porridge." She was the housekeeper the young man had hired. Over the past few weeks, she had observed their dynamic and had a good idea of their relationship. She suspected they had run away from disapproving families and had taken a special liking to them. It was clear to her that both men were used to a life of privilege. She had been worrying about how they would manage on their own when, to her surprise, one of them had approached her this morning, asking to learn how to make porridge. The young man learning to cook was, of course, Ethan. This was not a sudden whim or a newfound passion for culinary arts. He was there under duress, and the only person on earth who could compel him to set foot in a kitchen was Caleb. The drug Ethan had used last night had been placed in both glasses. To be safe, he had added extra, worried that the whiskey might neutralize some of its effects. He hadn't known that Owen's concoction was impervious to alcohol, nor had he anticipated how potent it would be. So, when Caleb woke up in the morning, his mind was clear, but his body was completely devoid of strength. Unfortunately, upon waking, he was unaware of his physical state. His first and only thought was revenge. He tried to flip over to pin Ethan down and retaliate, but he only made it halfway before collapsing back onto the bed with a muffled groan. His body felt as if it had been disassembled and poorly put back together, aching all over. The commotion woke Ethan, who was quite pleased with Caleb's current condition. He stood by the bed with a cheerful smile. "What would you like for breakfast?" "I'll have the housekeeper make it." Caleb, forced to lie there like a corpse, glared at him viciously. "I want to eat your flesh. Carve it off yourself and have her stir-fry it for me." Ethan smiled and sat on the edge of the bed, cupping Caleb's chin. Before Caleb could spit out any more venom, he leaned down and kissed him, his tongue sweeping inside before retreating. "What would you like to eat?" he asked again. Caleb shot him another glare, about to unleash a tirade, only to have his mouth covered again. This cycle repeated until he finally gave up and clamped his mouth shut. Ethan gently stroked his lips, his good-natured tone unchanged. "Come on, be good. What do you want to eat?" Caleb took a deep breath to calm himself. He studied Ethan for a long moment, then a wicked smile spread across his face. "Ethan, have you ever cooked for anyone before? You want me to cook for you?" Ethan looked at him, surprised. "I can't say that I have." "Good," Caleb commanded from the bed. "I want porridge. Go make it for me. And remember, it has to be made by you." "But I don't know how," Ethan said honestly. "Are you sure you want to drink it? If you don't know, then learn." Caleb shot him a sidelong glance, his tone malicious. "Aren't you, the great Ethan Price, supposed to be brilliant? This little task shouldn't be too hard for you. When the housekeeper arrives, go learn from her. And it better be edible when you bring it to me, or I'll dump the whole thing over your head." He yawned, then laboriously turned over, presenting Ethan with his back. He waved a dismissive hand, signaling that he could leave. Ethan looked at him with a helpless expression, walking out of the room while pondering how to navigate this challenge. Just as he reached the door, he paused and turned back. "Has anyone ever cooked for you before?" he asked. "And I don't mean a chef." Without turning around, Caleb's lazy voice replied, "No." Ethan smiled. "Then I'll go make it for you." "Yes, that's right. Stir it a bit." The housekeeper stood beside him, a diligent instructor. "Like this?" Ethan stirred the pot with a spoon at a steady pace. "When will it be done?" The housekeeper peered into the pot. "It's almost ready." Under her guidance, Ethan made his first ever bowl of porridge. He carried the steaming bowl upstairs with a smile. Caleb, having dozed off for a bit, had just woken up. He raised an eyebrow. "You actually managed to make it." Ethan placed the bowl on the table. It was actually quite easy. Caleb had little strength, so Ethan helped him to the bathroom to wash up. His clothes had been stripped off by Ethan the night before, and his body was now a canvas of dark, possessive marks from chest to inner thigh. Caleb stiffened, gritting his teeth. "I need to get dressed." "What for?" Ethan chuckled. "You'll just have to take them off again later." "What a hassle. Are you shy?" "When have you ever seen me shy?" Caleb's eyes burned with frustration. Any normal person would be furious at the man who had drugged and assaulted them. He was lucky Caleb hadn't tried to kill him with a knife. "Then get out," he snapped. "Stop staring at me." Ethan looked at him doubtfully. "Are you sure you can manage on your own?" "Positive." "All right then." Ethan turned to leave, adding over his shoulder, "Let me know when you're done. I'll help you back to bed." Caleb shot him a look and snorted, "I don't need your help. I can get out myself." Ethan just smiled and went to sit in a wicker chair in the bedroom, reading the newspaper. 20 minutes later, a lazy voice, laced with gritted teeth, came from the bathroom. "Hey, get in here and help me out." Ethan chuckled and shook his head, putting down the paper. He went into the bathroom and supported Caleb, who was limp and weak. The short time spent washing up had pushed him to his limit, and he now leaned his full weight against Ethan. Ethan looked down and saw a sheen of sweat on his forehead. Still trying to act tough, he thought with a sigh of exasperation. He scooped him up and carried him to the bed, then brought the porridge to him. "The temperature is just right. Should I feed you, or will you drink it yourself?" "I'll do it myself." Caleb took the bowl, eyeing it suspiciously for a moment before taking a tentative spoonful. The taste was strange, a mix of savory and slightly sweet, but surprisingly not bad. He was starving after the previous night's ordeal, and since the food was edible, he began to eat it without another word. Ethan watched him with a smile, noticing the occasional look of contentment on his face. When the bowl was empty, he asked, "How was it?" "Barely palatable," Caleb said, wiping his mouth and tossing the napkin aside. He glanced at Ethan, his tone casual. "Ethan, isn't there something else you need to explain to me?" "Ah, right," Ethan nodded, deciding to be truthful. "I know a very talented pharmaceutical chemist. I had my men send him your biological data that we acquired from Blackwood." Caleb finished the thought. "So he created a drug that would work on me." Ethan smiled and nodded. Caleb snorted in response. "Get me the newspaper. I want to read." Ethan got up to fetch it for him. "I want an apple." "Go wash one for me," Caleb commanded next. Ethan looked at him, then good-naturedly went downstairs to wash an apple. Caleb spent the next half hour ordering Ethan around until his anger had subsided and he began to feel tired. He rolled over to go back to sleep. Ethan stood by the bed for a moment, watching him, before taking off his own clothes and climbing in beside him. He pulled Caleb into his arms, the skin-to-skin contact making him close his eyes in satisfaction. Caleb, too weak to resist, could only glare at him. "What are you doing in my bed?" Ethan ruffled his hair. "I worked hard all night and then got up early to make you porridge," he said with a smile. "Of course I'm tired now." The phrase "worked hard all night" made the dangerous aura around Caleb intensify. Before he could retort, Ethan leaned in, cupped his chin, and kissed him. "I have a proposal. Want to hear it?" Caleb looked at him intently. "The last time you said that, we ended up on this ridiculous trip. What is it this time?" Ethan met his gaze, his smile unwavering, and said, enunciating each word clearly, "Let's be together." Caleb froze, then asked instinctively, "What?" "Well," Ethan knew he had heard him. "Since you're not willing to marry me, let's just date for now. I believe the term is cultivating a relationship. Besides, look at us. How many times has it been now?" "That's because you're shameless," Caleb shot back. "Fine, this time I was shameless," Ethan conceded with a smile. "What about last time?" Caleb was at a loss for words. Ethan took the opportunity to kiss him again. "Well," Caleb looked at the man before him. "Am I really going to stay entangled with him? Until I die?" "Ethan," he said slowly, "have you ever heard the fable? From a withered flower, a bee can only suck poison." The image of a single withered rose in a garden full of blooming flowers flashed through Ethan's mind. This man, it seemed, had never expected to live a long life. Ethan's smile didn't falter. "That's because you haven't heard the other fable," he said gently. "The one about the one and only rose." Caleb froze again. Blackwood had once told him that story, about a little prince on a distant planet who cherished his single rose. A relationship that was both intimate and independent was worth more than 1,000 superficial ones. Such a connection could save a person from soul-crushing loneliness. It was life's most important form of salvation. If you've never experienced it, you can't know its beauty. It was the kind of relationship Blackwood had wanted, one they had destroyed with their own hands before it could ever be realized. Seeing his silence, Ethan pulled him closer into his embrace. "It settled then," he murmured, closing his eyes to sleep. Caleb looked up at him. Even in sleep, a comfortable smile lingered on his lips. His handsome face wasn't one you could easily hate. Caleb considered it. Dating wouldn't really change much, but something about it felt strange. After much thought, the only conclusion he could reach was that dating meant he couldn't go hunting for pleasure anymore. He huffed and turned over to sleep. The smile on Ethan's lips deepened as he drifted into a peaceful slumber. Caleb was right. The days that followed were much the same as before. Life went on. One day, Ethan received 2 phone calls. The first was from a woman named Chloe. She laughed and said she was on her way to rescue him from his self-imposed exile. Ethan understood immediately. "Oh, you're in love." "I am," Chloe admitted freely. "You're with him now and would happily never come back. If I wait for you to sort things out, I'll be waiting forever. So, I'm gonna see the senator in a little while." Ethan smiled. "Make it convincing. The more you cry, the softer he'll get." Chloe laughed. "You don't need to teach me that. Anyway, I'm just letting you know that after today, you can come back whenever you want." "Understood." Ethan hung up with a smile. Just as he was about to put his phone away, it rang again. He glanced at the caller ID. It was his genius chemist, Owen. He answered. "What's up? More news?" "There is, but it's probably not what you want to hear." Ethan's cool eyes narrowed. "What do you mean? You know Blackwood is planning to make a move on someone soon, right? But the compound in that person's system isn't set to fully activate for another year. He wouldn't need to act this early unless he had a compelling reason." A jolt went through Ethan. "You're saying Blackwood is moving now because—" "Yes," Owen cut in, knowing he understood. "Caleb has less than 6 months of lucidity left. Based on the timeline, he should already be showing signs of losing control. It will get progressively worse over the next 6 months, after which he'll lose consciousness. Then, the drugs will continue to accumulate in his system for another 6 months, until he is completely under their control. I don't know what Blackwood needs that person for, but I'm willing to bet it has something to do with Caleb." Ethan's grip on the phone tightened. His one and only rose was beginning to wither. "All right, I understand," he said. "Keep me updated." "Will do." Ethan hung up and immediately dialed another number. Owen's voice came on the line again, getting straight to the point. "If you're calling to ask about the analysis, I have to tell you I'm still stumped. There's one component I still can't identify, and I think it's the main active ingredient. It's complicated. Blackwood truly earned his reputation as a prodigy of dark medicine." "What's the fastest you can work?" Ethan asked. "Hard to say," Owen mused. "Just analyzing the components is a huge task, let alone developing a mitigator. It would take at least 6 months, probably more." Ethan thought for a moment. What if we bypass the main ingredient for now and just focus on neutralizing the others? Owen considered it. That could work. It might delay the progression for a while, but the effect would be limited. He'd still be volatile. The best approach would be to add the mitigator to the sedative or a narcotic during the full moon to prevent him from losing control completely. "All right, start working on it now." "I need it before the next full moon," Ethan said, then paused, remembering how the sedative had worn off at midnight. "Add the mitigator to a narcotic. And get it to me," he said decisively. "Okay. You're lucky my wife just kicked me out, so I have plenty of free time. Your cousin is impossible to deal with," Owen sighed. "All right, that's it for now. I'll get back to you as soon as I can." Ethan pocketed his phone and stood on the balcony, looking down. Caleb was just returning, walking into the courtyard below. The sunlight hit him in a way that made him seem to glow. He sensed Ethan's gaze and looked up, raising a luxurious eyebrow. "Something wrong?" Ethan smiled and nodded. "Should we go back?" The members of Caleb's organization, the Crimson Syndicate, received a call that their leader was returning today. Lang, his second-in-command, had been standing at the entrance of their sprawling headquarters since early morning, eagerly awaiting the return of his master, who had been eloped for over 2 months. The morning sun cast a golden sheen on the mountain road. Lang stared into the distance until a small black dot appeared, growing steadily larger. He rubbed his eyes, looked again, then rubbed them in disbelief. After repeating this 3 times, he finally tugged on the sleeve of Sutton, the head of security, standing beside him. "Captain, hit me. See if it hurts. If it does, this isn't a dream." Sutton looked calmly at the approaching vehicle. "You're not mistaken. That is indeed a taxi." Lang swallowed hard. How terrifying would it be if the person inside was really the boss? Caleb of the Crimson Syndicate taking a taxi? What kind of cosmic joke was this? He wondered if the taxi driver hadn't been electrocuted by his boss's mere presence. Had he managed to avoid crashing into walls, trees, poles, and every other obstacle imaginable? Lang watched as the taxi pulled up in front of him. His master of 2 months emerged, slow and deliberate. Then he did something even more shocking. He took out his own wallet to pay the fare. This was unheard of. Caleb never carried money. He hadn't even packed any for this trip. Where did he get it? The driver saw him turning to leave and called out, Hey, kid. Wait, your change." Caleb turned back, puzzled. "But I'm sure I gave him the exact amount." No, the driver waved his hands frantically. "You're mistaken. You gave me too much. Here's your change." Caleb said, "Oh," walked back, took the money, and started to leave again. He was called back once more. Hey, still too much. Come back." Lang felt a headache coming on. Could this method be any more cliché? Caleb obediently walked back again. This went on a few more times until he finally said, "I'm sure that's how much I gave you. Is your taxi free?" The driver continued to wave his hands. "No, you still gave me too much." He pulled a thick wad of cash from his bag. "Here's your change." Caleb took it all without a word, then said, "Your bag is empty now. You don't have any more change for me, do you?" The driver coughed. "Actually, I remember now. You still owe me for the fare. You didn't give me enough." Caleb nodded, then beckoned to Lang behind him. Lang, understanding instantly, pulled a pistol from his coat and placed it respectfully in Caleb's hand. Caleb toyed with the gun, smiling. "So, why don't you tell me exactly how much I should give you?" The driver stammered, "Actually, I was wrong. The amount was perfect." "Okay. Nothing else. I'm leaving now. Leaving." He slammed the car into gear, cranked the wheel, and sped off. Caleb handed the stack of cash to Lang. "Put this away," he said, then walked inside. Lang looked at the money, his mouth twitching. Is this how the boss has been funding himself all this time? Sutton followed behind Caleb, his steady eyes observing him. He noticed that some of the man's wicked aura had diminished, replaced by a cleaner, more approachable quality. His eyes darkened. This change was something he would have never thought possible. It had to be related to that other man. Lang pocketed the money and hurried to catch up, also noticing the change in his master. Is hell freezing over today? But that thought didn't last long. Caleb soon changed back into his signature crimson-lined coat, and the familiar, malevolent energy returned in full force. Lang sighed internally. Their demonic master was finally back. Compared to the peace at the Syndicate's headquarters, the Price family estate in Washington, D.C. was on the verge of an eruption. Ethan stood in his grandfather's study, not even having had time to change. A dead silence had fallen after he had spoken. The senator paced the room like a caged lion, then stopped in front of him, his finger trembling with rage. He couldn't get another word out before his hand lashed out. The senator was a military man, and he had used his full strength. A sharp crack echoed in the room. Ethan's head snapped to the side, a bright red handprint instantly blooming on his pale cheek. It was the first time the senator had ever struck his beloved grandson. He was truly incensed. "Ethan, you are being utterly reckless." His entire body trembled with rage. He had probably never been this angry in his entire life. "You've lost your mind. Do you have any idea what you just said? Where is your usual intelligence? How can you not understand something so simple? You are courting death." Ethan wiped a trickle of blood from the corner of his mouth, his expression unfazed as he turned back to face him. "Grandfather." "Impossible," the senator roared. "Don't even think about it. I will not allow it. Get out of my sight and clear your head before you come back to me. Chloe came to see me a few days ago. I'm not forcing you to marry her anymore, but that doesn't mean you can act so foolishly." "Grandfather," Ethan said gently, "I have never asked you for anything in my entire life. Just this once. My mind is made up. Besides, I would never do something I'm not confident about. Grandfather, this is the first time I have ever loved someone." The senator looked at him, his body still ramrod straight. His stern face hardened with a fierce resolve. Few could withstand his gaze, but Ethan met it without flinching, his own cool eyes filled with unshakable determination. He knew his grandson's temperament all too well. The senator paced again, and when he finally stopped, his usually strong frame seemed to sag with a hint of exhaustion. "Grandfather, you should try to trust me," Ethan said. "Trust you on what?" The senator shot back without thinking. "On any other matter, I would trust you implicitly. But this? I'd have to be a fool to trust you on this." Ethan remained stubbornly silent. The senator, too, fell silent. After a long moment, he let out a heavy sigh, a sound that seemed to age him in an instant. He waved a weary hand. "Get out. If you die out there, I'll have him killed and bury you together. Consider it a final gift from your grandfather." Ethan's lips curved into his usual comfortable smile. "Thank you, grandfather." He turned and walked out. The senator remained in the study for a long time, motionless. The sunlight slanting through the window seemed bleak in the old house, casting his silhouette in a shade of aged sorrow. The men in his family were all cut from a similar cloth. Once their minds were made up, nothing could change them. They would walk into a fire without hesitation. He had hoped his 3 grandsons would be different. Their personalities were worlds apart, their ambitions varied, but on this one point, they were exactly the same. He didn't know whether to be proud or furious. Ethan went straight downstairs. His men were waiting in the living room. They saw the red mark on his face and froze, rushing forward. "Sir," Ethan waved them off. "It's nothing. We're heading back to the island off the coast of S City." "Yes, sir." The 2 travelers returned to their respective bases to deal with the backlog of work. Then, one day, they both found themselves, as if by prior arrangement, at Elysium, the place where they had first met. The underworld had been quiet for 2 months. But beneath the calm, rumors were swirling. The arrogant, demonic, and utterly insane leader of the Crimson Syndicate had vanished. 2 months without a word. It was unnatural, and it fueled speculation. The underworld was a hotbed of gossip, and soon theories of internal strife, grave illness, assassination, and crimes of passion were rampant. Everyone wondered if the formidable Caleb had finally left this world. But it was all just talk. No one had any proof. Far fewer people were concerned about Ethan. He had always been a low-key figure. His comings and goings were erratic, and a prolonged absence wouldn't raise any alarms. Xavier, the owner of Elysium, had been pondering the matter himself, but from a different angle. He was a good friend of Ethan's and was well aware of his particular tastes. He wondered if Caleb hadn't been secretly locked away by Ethan, The possibility seemed very high. By any measure, Ethan was the more insidious, the more twisted of the two. So when he was sitting in a private room at Elysium, listening to Ethan recount their recent travels, Xavier was momentarily stunned. So you two were on a honeymoon? You can think of it that way if you like. Ethan sat beside him with a smile, taking a sip of his drink. Xavier looked at him skeptically. Honestly, I would find it more believable if you told me you had him chained up somewhere. Those two on vacation. The thought alone was chilling. They weren't on vacation. They were inflicting themselves on the world. I'd like to chain him up, but not now, Ethan smiled. Assuming I still have the chance. Xavier's eyebrows shot up. Ethan was not one for uncertainty. He controlled every situation, every outcome. To hear him speak like this meant he had made some momentous decision. What are you going to do? Ethan's cool eyes narrowed, but the smile on his lips didn't waver. Nothing. Xavier shrugged and let it go. He knew that once Ethan had made up his mind, there was no changing it. He changed the subject. So why are you here tonight? Waiting for someone, Ethan said. Just as he spoke, one of his men leaned in. Sir, a call for you. Ethan nodded, glanced at the caller ID, and instructed, you take it. Then go get the package. The man acknowledged and left. At the same moment, Xavier also took a call, answered with a simple MM, and hung up. He turned to Ethan. Did you two coordinate this? So he's arrived? Ethan smiled. He has, Xavier said, waving his phone. Heading towards the underground auction house now. Ethan took a sip of his drink, saying nothing. Xavier looked at him, surprised. Aren't you going to go find him? Ethan remained silent. Just then, his man returned, handing him a wristwatch. Ethan put it on and stood up. I'm leaving. Xavier glanced at the watch. It looked unremarkable. He couldn't guess its purpose, but his curiosity wasn't strong enough to press. He just shrugged. I knew you wouldn't stay away. Ethan smiled and walked out. Caleb was sitting in a private box in the auction house. His appearance had put all the rumors to rest. A single thought crossed everyone's mind. The 2 months of peace were over. The underworld was about to be plunged back into bloodshed. Lang stood respectfully behind him. He took a call and leaned in. Master, the men outside report that Mr. Price has arrived. Caleb raised an eyebrow, a playful smile on his lips as he swirled his drink. Let him in. Yes, sir. The door to the box opened, and Ethan walked in. He sat down on the sofa, casually cupped Caleb's chin, and kissed him. Did you miss me? He asked gently. Caleb looked at him with his mesmerizing eyes, his voice lazy. Why would I miss you? I am, after all, your boyfriend now, aren't I? Ethan smiled. Caleb was unmoved. That means nothing to me. Ethan had expected this attitude. He wasn't bothered. Well, I missed you quite a bit. Oh? Caleb set down his glass, mirroring Ethan's earlier gesture by cupping his chin. And how much did you miss me? He asked, his voice laced with suggestion. Very much. So you specifically chose tonight to ask me out? Caleb raised an eyebrow. After they had agreed to date, they had stayed together for a few more days before heading back, taking their time. Now, after dealing with their respective business, exactly a month had passed. Tonight was the full moon. Ethan, you're not planning to drug me again, are you? Caleb looked at him suspiciously, his eyes gleaming with a dangerous light, amplified by the full moon's influence. Would you let me succeed a second time? Ethan smiled. No, Caleb said, still holding his chin. He leaned in, his voice a low, dangerous whisper. Which means you won't be escaping my grasp tonight. I know. That's why I'm not going to struggle, Ethan said, his cool eyes meeting Caleb's. But I do prefer your luxurious bedroom. It's still early. If you're really set on this, let's go there. You'll feel more secure on your own turf. That's true, Caleb said, still a bit suspicious. In that case, why didn't you just come to my headquarters? Why ask me to meet you here? I just wanted to see if you would come. Ethan smiled. Proves that I hold a certain weight in your heart. Caleb scoffed, then stood up with a lazy grace. Let's go, Mr. Price. I'm eager to see what tricks you have up your sleeve tonight. Ethan followed him out. As they rounded a corner in the hallway, someone rushing from the opposite direction was about to collide with them. It was the full moon, and Caleb's temper was already frayed. Seeing someone hurtling towards him, he instinctively lashed out with a kick. The man yelped and staggered back. He was a man of the underworld himself and wasn't used to such treatment. He swore and threw a punch. A cold glint flashed in Caleb's eyes. He caught the punch, twisted, and a sharp crack echoed in the hall. The man's arm was broken, hanging by a thread of skin and muscle. He screamed in agony, clutching his arm, and only then did he get a clear look at his attacker. Fear and awe flooded his eyes. Caleb was a monster. Demonic, bloodthirsty, unpredictable. A certified madman. Caleb was used to such looks. They had followed him since his rise to power. He was a monster and he didn't care. He gave the man a cold glance and walked on. Ethan watched him go. Perhaps only he understood that Caleb's action was an involuntary response, a side effect of the drugs in his system. It had probably happened many times before, leading to the bloody rumors that surrounded him. In the beginning, Caleb must have been shocked by his own actions, but now his dark eyes were empty. Watching his back, Ethan suddenly thought that if this man could truly go mad, it might be the kindest fate for him. But that wouldn't be his Caleb. Ethan looked at the strong, defiant figure ahead of him and smiled. He caught up, took his hand, and laced their fingers together as they stepped into the elevator. The syndicate's headquarters glowed under the faint moonlight, an ancient, elegant, and silent fortress. Ethan stepped off the helicopter and took in the sight with an appreciative eye. Caleb stood beside him, the cold aura emanating from him now tinged with a dangerous allure. It was captivating. Ethan's comfortable smile returned as he walked forward. It was still 3 hours until midnight. They had plenty of time. They walked down a wooden corridor, the silence broken only by the clear, crisp jingle of the bell on Caleb's ankle. The sound seemed to reach deep inside, a tantalizing caress on the soul. After listening for a moment, Ethan suddenly smiled. I think that anklet suits you. Caleb glanced at him, his voice slow and deliberate as they walked. That's because you're a pervert. If I could turn back time, I would have killed you that day and saved myself all this trouble. Speaking of which, you threw away the key long ago, didn't you? Clever, Ethan smiled. I tossed it the day you stormed out of that hotel room. Now, even if you wanted to take it off, you can't. Unless you cut off your foot. I knew it, Caleb said, unsurprised. Hasn't anyone ever told you that your tastes are pathological? Of course, Ethan said gently. Many people. The one who says it most often is Xavier, the owner of Elysium. You know him? Yes, I know him. Caleb turned a corner and stopped in front of his bedroom door. He pushed it open with a wicked smile. Well, Mr. Price, we've arrived. Let's see how you plan to escape tonight. I'm not opposed to tying you to the bed and having my way with you. I know, Ethan smiled. You've wanted me for a long time, especially like that. Good that, Caleb said, walking in. I'm gonna take a shower. He disappeared into the bathroom, and the sound of running water soon followed. Ethan listened, then walked over to the massive bed. The moonlight streamed in, making the silk canopy glow with an opulent beauty. Caleb was quick. He emerged from the bathroom shortly after, naked, just as he had been the first time. Ethan turned to look, his cool eyes darkening. Caleb hadn't dried himself completely, and the water droplets on his skin glistened in the moonlight, making him look almost translucent. Caleb was toweling his hair. He looked up at Ethan, his eyes hazy from the steam. "Your turn, Mr. Price. Be quick. Don't keep me waiting." Ethan nodded with a smile. "All right." He went into the bathroom. Caleb poured himself a drink and leaned against the headboard, swirling the glass, his gaze fixed on the full moon outside. His eyes narrowed. How many full moons had they spent together? It seemed like they had been together every full moon since they met, and each time it was a little less torturous than the last. The feeling was strange, and it made his eyes darken further, because it was addicting. It seemed he was destined to be entangled with this man until he died. On that day, it would all end. He never believed in forever. With Blackwood, he had tried to believe, but the truth had shattered that hope. And this man, would he one day become the same? No. A strange light flickered in Caleb's eyes. It was different. This man would never treat him the way Blackwood had. He didn't know why he felt this way, but he just knew it was true. This man was cunning and ruthless, but he knew he would never be that way with him. Caleb was finishing his drink when Ethan emerged, wearing a loose robe. He sat down in front of him, took the glass from his hand, and set it aside. He lifted Caleb's chin and leaned in to kiss him, licking his lips at the end. Caleb responded immediately, hooking his arms around Ethan's neck and pushing his own tongue forward. They kissed deeply, the flavors of whiskey and their own scents mingling between their lips, a soothing balm on the nerves. Ethan's hand slid down from the back of his head, and the watch on his wrist made a faint metallic sound as it moved. A jolt of alarm went through Caleb. He remembered Ethan never wore a watch. But before he could react, he felt a sharp prick on his neck, followed by a cold liquid flowing into his vein. He shoved Ethan away, clutching his neck. "Ethan, what did you just inject me with?" "Ugh." The words caught in his throat as a wave of dizziness hit him. Hallucinations flickered at the edge of his vision, and his body began to go numb. The world spun, and a strange, weightless sensation took over. He fell back onto the bed, his eyes glazed over. It took all his remaining consciousness to whisper, "Ethan, you injected me with a narcotic." "I did," Ethan said, removing his robe and leaning over him. He kissed his lips softly. "Without it, I really can't handle you." The watch was a custom piece from Owen, identical to the one on his own wrist. He wondered, with a sense of weary resignation, how many unethical acts Owen had committed with his. Caleb lay on the bed, his eyes dazed. Ethan kissed his forehead. "Don't worry," he said. "One time won't get you addicted." He leaned down and kissed him again, his tongue tangling with Caleb's, a sweet sensation that sent a tingle down to his fingertips. Caleb lay there, stunned. The euphoria from the drug hadn't faded yet. A fire started to burn deep inside him, growing stronger, consuming the last of his strength. He frowned slightly. "What else did you put in it besides the narcotic?" Ethan paused, studying him. In the moonlight, a faint blush was spreading across his skin, making him look even more alluring. And below, a certain part of him had come to life. Ethan sighed again. It seemed Owen had added a little something extra to the mix. "That has nothing to in with me," he said innocently. Caleb felt like he was on fire, An involuntary moan escaped him, his voice husky. Like hell it doesn't. You're a treacherous bastard. All right, even if I am, this time it really wasn't me, Ethan said, looking at Caleb's increasingly ragged breathing. He chuckled. But it doesn't really matter for you now, does it? You're caught either way. Caleb swore under his breath. He arched his back, panting, feeling something else flowing through him amidst the dizziness. The violent turmoil in his blood seemed to have calmed slightly. He frowned. There's more. Besides all that other crap, what else did you add? A mitigator, Ethan admitted. I wanted to see if it could neutralize some of the effects of the other drug. How do you feel now? Caleb just stared at him. Many people had wanted him, but no one had ever been as forceful as the man before him. Forcing his way into his life, learning everything about him, and then trying to change it all. After a long silence, he finally asked, "Why are you doing this?" "I told you I love you, didn't I?" Ethan smiled. "Since I love you, of course I want to have a future with you. So I have to get rid of all that other crap in your system as soon as possible. It's my duty to clear away anything that might stand in the way of our future." Caleb took a deep breath to stay conscious, his temples throbbing. The word future was too foreign, and the idea of being free of the drug was something he didn't dare to imagine. Because no one had ever said such a thing to him before. Not like this. Daniel loved him too, but he would only say, "Cal, one day I will have you," not "Cal, I want to have a future with you." Took him a long time to whisper, "But I don't think I ever agreed to be with you." "Then you can just consider me the only one invested in this," Ethan said, kissing him again before he could reply. "Besides, I already told you. Whether you agree or not has no bearing on us being together. This isn't something you can just say no to. Understand?" The kiss made Caleb's breathing even more ragged, the moisture in his eyes thickening. He let go of the topic, suddenly remembering all the times this man had feigned submission. "I should have never trusted you," he said, his voice husky with resentment. "Wrong." Ethan looked at him, cupping his chin and forcing him to meet his gaze. "Any other time, maybe, but right now you should trust me." "Why?" "You'll know in the future." Ethan murmured the words and bent to kiss his lips again, his hands beginning to roam, kneading every inch of his skin. He soon reached his center of desire. Caleb gasped, closing his eyes and letting him be. He had no strength to fight, and they had done this before. He had nothing to lose. He let himself sink into the pleasure. But infuriatingly, the man's hands only lingered there for a moment before moving on. Frustrated, Caleb demanded, "Ethan, if you're going to do it, just do it." Ethan looked up at him, still caressing him. "I want you to remember this feeling. Remember it with your heart." "Why?" Caleb glared at him. Ethan's gaze was unwavering. "Because I love you," he said, each word deliberate. His hand moved to Caleb's inner thigh, stroking it gently. Caleb moaned, his breath catching. He closed his eyes, feeling his skin burn wherever the man's long fingers touched. Ethan was still watching him, his eyes soft. "Do you remember?" Caleb panted for a few moments before whispering, "I remember." Ethan then leaned down, his wet lips tracing a path down Caleb's neck, over his chest, past his navel, and continuing downward. Caleb realized his intention and his eyes flew open. "Ethan, you MMPH," he moaned as Ethan continued. As clever as he was, he had never imagined that Ethan would do this for him. The proud, fastidious, germophobic Ethan Price was pleasuring him with his mouth. How was that possible? He knew with absolute certainty that if it wasn't for a profound, all-consuming love, Ethan would never do such a thing. His hands tightened on Ethan's shoulders as he arched his back, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Many people in this world would do this for him. But Ethan was different. He was different. This was a first for Ethan, but he quickly found his rhythm, soothing him, feeling the change in him. Caleb's grip on his shoulders tightened again. Enough. His body went rigid, then convulsed. Ethan didn't seem to mind. He looked up at him with a smile. "Are you all right?" After the climax, Caleb was lost for a while. When he finally came back to himself, he opened his eyes and looked at Ethan, his mesmerizing eyes still wide with shock. "You're insane," he rasped. "Perhaps," Ethan said, kissing his lips. "I think I've been insane since the day I met you. But you need to remember this feeling too." Caleb took a few breaths. "And why is that?" "You know why," Ethan said, reaching for the lubricant on the bedside table. He squeezed some onto his fingers and slowly slid inside him, quickly preparing him. "I want you to remember every sensation of this night. Remember it with your life." Caleb gasped. "Be gentle." Ethan kissed his chin. "Endure it," he said, then added another finger. Caleb grunted, his hands gripping Ethan's arms. Ethan brought his hand to his lips and kissed it, then continued his work. Caleb cried out, arching his back, and swore through clenched teeth. You fucking bastard, Cal," Ethan whispered, "remember this too." Then he began to move. Caleb, with his waist pinned, could only accept everything the man gave him, feeling his consciousness drift further and further away. The chaotic sounds in the room finally subsided in the early hours of the morning. Caleb had passed out again. When he woke the next day, the culprit was gone. He tried to move and immediately groaned in pain. Sutton, who had been waiting outside, heard the sound and entered, carrying a bowl of porridge, which he placed respectfully on the table. Caleb sniffed the air. "Ethan made this?" "Yes, sir." Caleb snorted and got up to wash, not asking where the man had gone. He didn't know that Ethan was standing in the courtyard of the headquarters, his gaze fixed on his bedroom window. He only turned to leave when he saw Sutton emerge with the empty bowl. His men were waiting for him. He got into the car and took the phone from his subordinate, dialing a number. The call was answered quickly. "What's up?" "Well, I haven't obtained any useful data yet." Ethan cut him off. "I'm going to take care of a few things. Then I'm taking a helicopter to the Golden Triangle to find you." The man on the other end was stunned. "What are you coming to the Golden Triangle for?" Ethan's cool eyes narrowed. "I need you to take me to see Alistair Blackwood." Another stunned silence, then a roar. "By yourself? Are you insane? Have you forgotten that Blackwood has a feud with the senator? You're committing suicide." "I don't care," Ethan said and hung up. He turned to look out the window, adding silently in his mind, "As long as I can save him, I don't care about anything else." On a side street near the bustling heart of the Shan State, a clinic had opened some time ago, run by a young man in his early 20s. He was kind, his medical skills were superb, and he was well liked by the locals. But every so often, he would travel for a few days before returning. So when people passed by today and saw the clinic's doors shut tight, they knew the good doctor was traveling again. Ethan and two of his men walked to the back door of the clinic and knocked gently. A moment later, the door creaked open. A handsome man in a soft sweater and glasses looked at them with a resigned sigh. I knew he wouldn't change his mind. Ethan smiled and walked past him. "Eris, long time no see." The man, Eris, rubbed his forehead in frustration, closed the door, and went to make tea. "Are you really going to see Blackwood with just two men?" "Yes," Ethan said, settling into a wicker chair. "Is there a problem?" Eris wisely held his tongue, placing the tea in front of him and sitting opposite. All right then. How do you plan to get in? We wait, Ethan said, leaning back with his hands folded. Based on your previous descriptions, it was always that boy, Aya, who took you there, correct? That's right, Eris nodded. Even though I've memorized the route, Aya still comes here to pick me up every time. He paused. Are you saying you'll wait for him and have him take you? The idea is sound, but that boy is cunning and has a maturity beyond his years. But against you, I don't think I have much to worry about, he shrugged. You're far more devious than he is. Ethan smiled. Thank you for the compliment. Eris pushed up his glasses. So what should I do? Ethan began, but was cut off by the back door creaking open again. A clear voice rang out. Eris, did you? The voice stopped abruptly as the speaker saw the other people in the room. Who are you? He asked, his tone instantly wary. Ethan gestured with his chin, and his men moved at once, restraining the newcomer. Eris was also taken aback. Ethan's eyes narrowed as he studied the boy. He was in his late teens, with pale skin, a pointed chin, and a cherubic face framed by ash-blonde hair. His eyes were dark as ink. Seeing men advance on him, he shrank back, clutching his clothes, looking harmless and fragile. Without a second thought, Ethan grabbed the teacup in front of him and hurled it. The cup, filled with scalding tea, flew past his men and struck Aya's arm. Aya grunted in pain, his hands spasming, and several nail-sized objects fell to the floor. Ethan's men, startled, quickly grabbed his wrists and pinned them behind his back. They then looked down at the floor and saw a scatter of tiny syringes. The seemingly innocent boy had been armed and ready to strike. Aya, injured and restrained, glared at Eris. Eris, what is this? It's exactly what it looks like, Ethan answered for him. He glanced at Aya, then had his men gag him. He turned his attention back to Eris. Dr. Thorn, you haven't answered my proposal yet. Having been around Ethan long enough, Eris knew what he meant. He pushed up his glasses. Sir, I really don't know who this Blackwood you speak of is. And he's just a child. Please let him go. Oh? Ethan raised an eyebrow, gesturing to the syringes on the floor. But my investigation shows you disappear with this child every so often. And if he were just an ordinary boy, why would he be carrying those? Eris's expression didn't change. I gave them to him. He's an orphan and gets bullied. They're just for self-defense. They're filled with a mild anesthetic. So you're a philanthropist, Dr. Thorn, Ethan said with a small smile. He gave a signal, and one of his men picked up a syringe and moved toward Aya. Wait, Eris cried out, turning to Ethan, his voice now cold. What are you doing? You said it's just a mild anesthetic, Ethan said, his smile unwavering. What's the harm in giving him a little dose? He gestured again, and his man continued. Aya's eyes widened in terror. The syringes were filled with a fast-acting poison. He was helpless, watching as the needle came closer and closer. Stop! Just as the needle was about to pierce his skin, Eris shouted again. Ethan sat calmly in his chair, watching him, waiting. After a moment of silence, Eris sighed. Fine. I'll take you. Let him go. No, Ethan said, standing up. When you've brought me to my destination, I will release him. All right, Eris said, grabbing a small bag. He walked toward the door. Let's go. They drove to the edge of a dense forest. Eris got out and walked into the woods without a word. Ethan followed, a wry thought crossing his mind. He hated forests. They walked for half an hour before stopping in front of a sheer rock face. Eris touched an unseen spot, and a hand-sized panel was revealed. He searched Aya, found a keycard, and swiped it. With a soft chime, a small door opened in the rock face, revealing a passageway. Eris glanced at Ethan, his eyes filled with a mixture of concern and final confirmation. Ethan just smiled. Eris sighed and stepped inside. The tunnel was brightly lit and led deep into the mountain. After 15 minutes, it opened into a vast, sunlit space. It was another forest, but this one was manicured and orderly. Looking up through the canopy, Ethan could see a patch of blue sky. The mountain was hollow. He remembered Eris mentioning a place like this, a secluded valley, a modern-day Shangri-La. It was no wonder Caleb had searched for Blackwood for 8 years without a trace. They followed a pebble path to a small villa nestled among tall trees, perfectly hidden from aerial view. As they approached, the front door opened. A soft voice drifted out. "Since you've come all this way, why not come in for a cup of tea?" Ethan's lips curved upward. He signaled to his men, who released their hostage and followed him inside. A man was sitting on the sofa. He smiled as Ethan entered. Ethan returned the smile, studying him. By all accounts, this man should be in his 50s, but he looked no older than 30. He was handsome, with soft features and a smile that radiated warmth, like a benevolent angel, a stark contrast to the nightmarish figure of underworld legend. Ethan knew this had to be Alistair Blackwood. Blackwood gestured for him to sit. "Have some tea and then we can talk." "I'd like that," Ethan said, remaining standing. "But before that, may I take a shower?" Blackwood was momentarily surprised, then laughed. "Of course. It's upstairs. Be my guest." Ethan simply said, "I take my time in the shower," and went upstairs without a backward glance. Blackwood waited patiently on the sofa. 2 hours later, a familiar figure descended the stairs. Ethan, now in a fresh robe, sat opposite him. "All right," he said with a smile. "Now we can talk." Blackwood's gaze was calm and gentle. "I may have stepped away from the business in recent years, but I still hear the rumors," he said. "White silk with gold embroidery. You must be Ethan Price." Ethan nodded, taking a sip of tea. "I thought so," Blackwood continued. "Then you must know about the disagreement between myself and your grandfather. The only time in my life I was ever truly outmaneuvered was because of him. So, I have a certain dislike for your family." Even as he said this, his expression remained unchanged, as if discussing the weather. Ethan's cool eyes narrowed. This man was dangerous. From his tone, it seemed he didn't even consider Caleb's bloody takeover of the syndicate a failure on his part. Something else must have happened that night. "I've heard," Ethan said calmly. Blackwood leaned back. "So why have you come to me?" "Nothing major," Ethan said, his thumb tracing the rim of his cup. "I just need you to help me develop a mitigator." Blackwood was non-committal. "For what?" "I've had the compounds in Caleb's blood analyzed," Ethan said. "I was going to have my people synthesize a mitigator, but one of the components is proving to be difficult. So I thought perhaps the person who created it would know how to counteract it." At the mention of Caleb's name, Blackwood's expression shifted slightly. "What is your relationship with him? Why do you care?" "Our relationship is complicated," Ethan smiled. "You can investigate it yourself if you're curious. Let's just say we made a bet. I said I could cure him. It would be very inconvenient for me to lose. Is that so?" Blackwood said. "But if I were to kill you right here, you wouldn't have to worry about that inconvenience." Still no malice in his voice. "That's an option," Ethan smiled. "However, before I came, I left some instructions. If my men don't hear from me in a month, they are to go to my grandfather and tell him about the connection between you, Caleb, and Julian. You know how interested the government is in your research." They would surely take them both for study. Then my grandfather would lose me, and you would lose two of your most important experiments. A fair trade, wouldn't you say? Blackwood's eyebrow twitched. How do you know about Julian? Caleb told me, of course, Ethan said smoothly. And if you're wondering why he told me, again, you can investigate that yourself. Blackwood stared at him for a long moment. I can make your mitigator, but I detest your family. I've always dreamed of getting one of you on my operating table. You want a mitigator? Fine. But I need a test subject. You seem like a suitable candidate. That's my only condition. Take it or leave it. Ethan smiled, took a sip of his tea, and set the cup down. Deal. And so Ethan stayed, becoming Blackwood's compliant test subject. To develop the mitigator, Blackwood had to inject him with the same drug that was in Caleb. It was administered directly into his bloodstream, so its effects would fade over time, but Blackwood used the excuse of experimentation to dose him repeatedly, causing the drug to accumulate in his system. But Ethan's self-control was formidable, and he managed the effects. The lab was in the basement, a state-of-the-art facility filled with doctors, guards, and other test subjects of various ethnicities, kept in glass-walled rooms like specimens in a jar. Eris also stayed, secretly helping Ethan by monitoring the drugs and providing countermeasures to keep him from being permanently damaged. Blackwood, unaware, valued Eris's genius and repeatedly tried to recruit him. Ethan took it all in stride. He insisted on a pristine environment, new equipment for every test, and the finest food and drink. He read the morning paper, drank his premium tea, and when not being experimented on, he would take walks or conduct his business by phone, as if on a luxury vacation. Aya once sneered at him, "I've never seen such a high-maintenance test subject." Ethan had simply smiled back. "That's because I have the capital to be high maintenance." Aya had stormed off to Blackwood. "Aren't you afraid he'll call in his grandfather's forces to raid this place?" Blackwood had just smiled. He knew Ethan wouldn't make a move until the mitigator was ready. As a precaution, however, he had injected Ethan with a slow-acting poison that would take 2 months to activate, planning to re-administer it with each dose of the antidote, keeping him on a leash. Ethan was aware of this but didn't care. He continued his leisurely routine. He and Blackwood would often sit and chat over tea, two elegant men engaged in pleasant conversation, a surreal scene that infuriated Aya to no end. "I've always wondered," Ethan said one day as they sat on the veranda under a large parasol. "If Caleb is so important to you, why did you put that stuff in him in the first place? If he truly loses control or dies, you'll be the one who grieves. Assuming you know what grief is." Blackwood smiled. "You make me sound like I have no emotions." "When a person is a genius in one area," Ethan said, "they often lack in others. You're not devoid of emotion. You just haven't encountered anything that could truly move you." "Perhaps," Blackwood mused. "So why did you do it to him?" Ethan pressed. Blackwood sidestepped the question. "Our story is a long one. Besides, you're smart. Can't you guess?" "I guess," Ethan's cool eyes narrowed, "that you didn't know how potent the drug would be. You didn't know the worst-case scenario was death. That's why you're so desperate to find Julian now. You're not planning on giving Caleb a blood transfusion, are you?" Blackwood looked at him, a dangerous glint in his eyes. "Cal is my treasure. When he was young, he was so dependent on me. There was no room for anyone else between us. I know he wants to kill me now, but that's fine. He will return to my side one day, because he belongs only to me." He hadn't confirmed or denied it, but the possessiveness in his voice was chilling. "We'll see who he belongs to in the end," Ethan thought, his smile unchanging. Blackwood stood up. "Come on. It's time for another injection." Ethan followed. With each dose, he could feel the drug's grip strengthening, the recovery time growing longer. He suspected Blackwood was running another experiment in parallel, to see if a person could be pushed into a permanent state of psychosis through external injections alone. He was the test subject. He would have to talk to Eris soon. Another month passed. Caleb was still living his flamboyant life. Without Ethan around, things were quiet, but after a few weeks, he grew bored. The peace was unsettling. But the full moon was approaching again. He was sure the man would reappear. One evening, he was at a lavish business gala. He found a quiet corner and was sipping his drink when a beautiful woman with an air of cool confidence approached him. She was not of the underworld and had no idea who he was. She was simply captivated by him and determined to have him. Caleb, finding her pleasant enough to look at, agreed to have a drink. He was planning to indulge himself. The last hunt had been interrupted, and Ethan was conveniently absent. As for their relationship, it meant nothing. But as the woman leaned in to kiss him, he caught the strong scent of her perfume and sighed. "I prefer the scent of tea." The woman froze. "What did you say?"